My name is Emily. I'm 36 years old and I live in Chicago with my husband and our 2 daughters. My husband's name is Mark. He's 58. We've been married for 18 years, a journey that has given us our 17-year-old daughter, Sophie, and our sweet 1-year-old baby girl. We live in a small, quiet, and clean apartment. It's not spacious, but it has always felt like enough for us. Mark works full-time at an insurance company, providing for our family while I stay home to care for the baby. Before our youngest was born, I had a part-time job as a teacher, but now I'm on leave. With no income of my own, Mark shoulders most of the financial burden. We have a loan on our apartment that we both signed for, and a wave of guilt washes over me knowing I can't contribute much right now. I feel bad about it. I always believed that Mark loved me. He was significantly older, but in the beginning, his kindness was a comfort. He would whisper sweet things, bring me flowers on random Tuesdays, and make me feel like I was the most special person in the world. I truly believed he was a good man. I trusted him with my whole heart. But a few months ago, something shifted. He started coming home late, blaming it on a busy workload, late meetings, or extra hours. At first, I accepted his excuses. "Okay," I'd say, "just take care of yourself." But soon, a nagging feeling in my gut told me something was wrong. Our conversations became shallow. His attention was constantly on his phone, a device that had become an extension of his body. He even took it into the bathroom with him. When I'd ask who he was texting, he'd dismissively say it was just work stuff and quickly change the subject, never meeting my eyes. One night, he returned home exceptionally late. He claimed he'd had a dinner meeting with colleagues, but the details didn't add up. He was wearing cologne, something he never did for the office. His shirt, which had been wrinkled when he left that morning, was now perfectly pressed, and he had a small, secretive smile playing on his lips as he walked in. "Mark," I asked, my voice trembling slightly, "did you really go to work?" His face hardened. "Why are you asking so many questions? Don't you trust me?" His anger felt like a physical blow. I felt scared. "Sorry," I whispered. "I was just worried." He walked past me without another word. That night, sleep was a stranger to me. The next day, he left for work early. The apartment was quiet except for the soft breathing of our sleeping baby. My mind kept replaying the scene from last night. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. I didn't want to believe he was hiding something, but my heart screamed that he was. After I put the baby down for her nap, I found his old phone in a drawer. He had a new one now, but he occasionally still used this one. I charged it and turned it on. The call history was a stark, repeating pattern of a single number, dialed again and again, morning, afternoon, and late into the night. My hands shook as I scribbled the number onto a piece of paper. Later, when Mark was at work again, I gathered my courage and called the number. "Hello," a woman's voice answered. "Hi, who is this?" I asked. "Who are you?" she shot back. "I'm Emily, I'm Mark's wife." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then, with chilling indifference, she said, "So, that's not my problem. Are you in a relationship with Mark?" I pressed on, my voice barely a whisper. "Yes," she confirmed. "He didn't tell you." My chest tightened, making it hard to breathe. The phone felt heavy in my weak hand. "He comes to me, that's all I care about," she added coldly. I couldn't listen to another word. I ended the call. I slid down to the floor and sobbed, feeling my world shatter into a million pieces. That night when Mark came home, I confronted him. "I know about her," I said, my voice flat. I called the number. I spoke to her. He looked surprised for a fleeting moment, then his face contorted with rage. Why are you going through my phone? That's my private life. You are my husband, I cried out. You are lying to me. We have children. We have a family. How could you do this? You always make problems. You never understand, he retorted. I'll stop when I want. Don't try to control me. He then walked away, disappearing into the bedroom. He didn't say sorry. He didn't even try to explain. After that night, everything spiraled downward. He stayed out later, sometimes not coming home at all. He stopped telling me where he was going and ignored my calls. I'd wait for him every night, a lonely vigil by the window, watching the clock and checking my phone for a message that never came. When he would finally appear the next morning, he'd act as if nothing was wrong. Where were you? I'd ask. I was busy, he'd snap. Stop asking me questions. I don't have time for this. His words were like daggers, and I felt myself becoming invisible. Then I started noticing the money problems. I checked our joint bank account and saw a hemorrhage of funds. He was buying perfume, dresses, and paying for expensive meals at fancy restaurants. I knew none of it was for me. We hadn't been to a restaurant in years. We didn't buy gifts for each other anymore. Why are you spending so much money? I pleaded. We need to pay the loan. We have children. Don't worry, he'd say dismissively. I'll handle it. But he handled nothing. The money was vanishing. I stopped buying anything for myself, saving every dollar. I even had to borrow money from my sister to buy baby food. He didn't seem to care. The stress was overwhelming. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My hair started falling out. My doctor told me, you are under extreme stress. You need to rest. But how could I rest when my husband was in love with someone else, my family was in financial trouble, and my baby needed constant care? I felt like my life was falling apart. Even our older daughter, Sophie, noticed. Mom, are you okay? She asked one day, her eyes full of concern. I'm fine, I lied, forcing a smile, but she saw right through it. Dad doesn't love us anymore, she said quietly. I didn't know what to say. One evening, Sophie tried to talk to Mark. Dad, please stop this. You're hurting Mom. You're hurting all of us, he exploded. Stay out of this, he shouted. Sophie burst into tears and ran to her room. That night I sat with her as she cried. Why is he doing this? Doesn't he care about us? She sobbed. I held her close and cried with her, unable to offer any answers. I confided in my best friend, telling her everything. Emily, she said gently, maybe it's time to think about yourself. You can't keep living like this. But I don't have a job, I whispered. I can't take care of the girls alone. You're stronger than you think, she insisted. I wanted to believe her, but I just felt weak and lost, with no idea what to do next. I met Mark when I was only 18, fresh out of school. My friend had invited me to her wedding at a community hall in Chicago. It was a joyful celebration with music, food, and dancing. I was having fun with my friends when I saw him. Mark was standing near the wall in a dark suit, tall and imposing. He wasn't dancing or smiling, he was just watching me. At first, I ignored it, but I soon realized his gaze never left me. He just stood there, observing me from a distance. 2 days later, a message from an unknown number appeared on my phone. Hi, I saw you at the wedding. Can we talk? I was surprised. Who are you? I replied. I'm the man from the wedding. You looked beautiful. I want to know you. Young and inexperienced, I was intrigued, so I agreed to talk. He was polite and showered me with compliments. You are different, he'd say. You are special. We talked for hours every day. After just 2 days of chatting, he shocked me by saying, I want to marry you. I see you as my wife." I was completely bewildered. "But we don't even know each other," I said. "I know what I feel," he insisted. "You are the one for me. Please say yes. I promise I will take care of you." His words, so full of conviction, touched my young heart. I believed him. He seemed so honest and kind. I introduced him to my parents, who were wary of the significant age gap. But Mark was charming. He spoke respectfully, expressed his desire for a family, and insisted that age was just a number when it came to love. My family eventually agreed. Our wedding was simple. I wore a white dress, and he wore a suit, a look of pure happiness on his face. I thought I was the luckiest girl in the world. In the beginning, it was wonderful. He brought me small gifts, took me to dinner, and called me his angel and his sunshine. I felt so loved and safe. I moved into his apartment and embraced my role as a wife. I was young, and I hung on his every word. But after about a month, a small crack appeared. One evening, I saw him smiling at his phone. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. He quickly put it down. "Just a friend," he said. I didn't press him. I trusted him. A few months later, I became pregnant with Sophie. Mark seemed happy. I thought a baby would bring us closer, but I was wrong. He started coming home late again, using work as an excuse. He stopped accompanying me to doctor's appointments, and his calls during the day ceased. I felt incredibly lonely. One night when I was 7 months pregnant, he didn't come home at all. He didn't answer my calls. He returned the next morning and snapped, "I was with a friend." Don't act like a child. After Sophie was born, I was exhausted and overwhelmed, but Mark was always too busy or needed rest for work. I felt like a single parent. Years passed. I got a part-time teaching job and life became a bit more manageable. I thought perhaps things would improve. But one evening, while running errands, I saw Mark in his car with another woman. I recognized her from our old neighborhood. She had 3 children and a husband who worked abroad. They were laughing together. I stood there, frozen. When I got home and asked him about it, he just said, "Don't spy on me. You are not my boss." Later, I checked his phone and found messages between them. He called her my love and my everything, words he never said to me. He had been sending her money, taking her to restaurants, and even taking her children to the park, something he never did for our daughter. My heart was shattered. I confronted him with the phone. He looked at me and said, "I made a mistake. I'm sorry." He begged for another chance. I was young, with a small child and no stable job. I felt trapped. So I stayed quiet. I thought he would change. After Mark's apology, I decided to give him one more chance, not for him, but for our daughter. I didn't want her growing up in a broken home. I told myself he was genuinely sorry, so I stayed, forgiving him on the surface, but inside the trust was gone. My heart was weary. For a while, things were calm. He was home more often. He was kinder. But there was no peace in my heart. Then I unexpectedly became pregnant again. When I told Mark, he wasn't happy. He didn't smile or congratulate me. He just said, "Okay, we'll manage." That single moment hurt more than any of his lies. I was carrying his child, and he didn't care. I knew then that I was utterly alone in this marriage. As the months passed, his old habits returned. Late nights, mysterious expenses, and cold indifference. I knew it was happening again. I didn't need to check his phone. One day I called him and a different woman answered. "He's busy," she said curtly. "Don't call again." She hung up. I stared at my phone, my hands cold, my face wet with tears. That night I didn't wait for him. I packed a few bags. I took my baby in my arms and told Sophie, "We are going to Grandma's house." She looked at me with wise eyes and asked, Is it happening again? Yes, I said, my voice firm. But this time, I'm not staying quiet. We went to my parents' home. After a few days, I told them everything. My father was furious and my mother cried, but they both said, "You are always welcome here. You are not alone." A week later, Mark called. "When are you coming back?" he demanded. "I'm not coming back this time," I told him. He laughed. "You can't live without me. You need my money." "No," I said, a newfound strength in my voice. "I don't need your lies. I don't need your cheating. I will find a way." He shouted obscenities at me, but for the first time, I wasn't afraid. Within weeks, I found a part-time job at a local school. It was hard with a baby, but my mother and Sophie helped me. I started earning my own money. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I stopped waiting for Mark to change. I stopped hoping for love from a man who couldn't give it. I decided to file for divorce. When he found out, he called again. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because I finally understand my worth," I replied. "You're being emotional," he sneered. "No," I said calmly. "I'm being brave." Months passed. Life was a struggle, but it was an honest struggle. Sophie started smiling again. "Mom, I'm proud of you," she told me one day. Her words were the validation I never knew I needed. I stopped thinking about Mark. I focused on myself and my children. Then I received a job offer in another city, a better job with better pay. After much thought, I accepted. It was a new beginning. We moved into a small, rented place that I filled with simple pictures, flowers, and soft lights. It wasn't a big house, but it was peaceful. There were no lies in that house, no late nights, no shouting, just love. Sometimes, at night, I sit by the window and think about my old life. I remember the pain, the lies, and the fear, but I don't cry anymore. I feel proud. I made the hardest choice of my life. I walked away from a man I once loved. I chose myself. I chose my daughters. I don't know what Mark is doing now, and I find that I don't care. My story isn't perfect, but it's real. And finally, it belongs to me.